In recent years, the number of serious work-related accidents relating to quads, in particularly in agriculture and forestry, has given rise to great concern. A quad bike is a fantastic aid for farm work, as it's designed to cope with a wide variety of terrain types. But, if operated unsafely, it quickly creates significant risk of death or severe injury to the operator. The main causes of deaths or serious injury with quads are from being thrown off during vehicle overturns after loss of control, collision with structures, trees, poles or other vehicles, being trapped, asphyxiated or drowned under an overturned machine, pedestrians being struck or run over by a quad. The underlying causes are usually one or more of the following: lack of structured training, lack of experience, excessive speed, especially turning at excessive speed, carrying a passenger or an unbalanced load, towing excessive loads with unbraked equipment, turning over on a bank, ditch, rock, rut or bump, a steep slope combined with other factors such as ground or load conditions. This video focuses on sit-astride quads. These vehicles are intended to be used by a single operator without a passenger. The most important safety issues with sit-astride quads are training, competent operators, wearing personal protective equipment, maintenance and a good knowledge of the terrain. Larger working quads should only be used by persons 16 and over. Quad bike training is vital and a legal requirement. Under the 2005 Act, all employers must provide employees with instruction, training and supervision as is necessary to ensure their safety. The same requirement also applies to self-employed persons. Training is also required for towed and attached equipment used with a quad. Competent, trained, experienced quad bike riders can handle almost any situation, but novice riders need to receive training and practice their quad bike operating skills slowly and smoothly under safe conditions. More than half of all quad bike riders have been thrown off at some time. There is no cab or roll bar, so your only protection is what you wear. Head protection is essential, as a significant percentage of serious injuries with quads involve head injuries. Helmet types suitable for quad bike operations, depending on the circumstances, include motorcycle helmets, equestrian helmets, and specialist quad helmets. All helmets should be manufactured and tested in accordance with the relevant EN or BS standard, have a chin strap, and be capable of being used with suitable eye protection. The type of helmet chosen should be based on a risk assessment of the circumstances in which the quad will be used. For example, the type of surface travelled over and anticipated speeds. Wear clothing which is strong and covers your arms and legs. Wear boots or Wellingtons which are strong and have good grip. Secure your helmet with a chin strap. Protect your eyes from insects and branches with either a visor or safety goggles. Gloves are useful for protection and to keep your hands warm in cold weather, allowing for good control of the quad. When choosing a quad, it is important that you select a quad for the work intended and that it suits your physical dimensions. Some quads might be too large or too small. A good guideline is to see whether your buttocks are about 10 or 15 centimeters above the saddle when you're standing astride the quad using the footrest, and whether your thighs slope slightly downwards when you're seated. In general, riders should be older than 16 years before operating larger quads. Consult the safety symbols on the vehicle for manufacturer's specific age suitability. This label also features important safety information about the quad's intended use. Please read this label and follow all the instructions. Let's take a look at the controls and the basic safety aspects of quad operation. First up is the brakes. A quad has a front brake lever on the right handlebar, a rear brake pedal near the footrest, and a rear brake lever on the left handlebar. The rear parking brake is mainly located on the left handlebar, or next to the rear brake pedal. In this model, it is engaged by using the transmission lever. Many older quads on Irish farms at present have a manual transmission, and gears are shifted by using a foot-operated lever near the footrest. But most of the newer quad models have an automatic transmission. The throttle control is a thumb-operated lever located on the right handlebar. Other controls include an ignition switch, an engine cut-off switch, a fuel valve, a choke, starter, reverse gear where applicable, and various transmission types. It is important that you read your user manual and that you familiarise yourself with the operation of all the controls before riding the quad. Maintaining your quad in good condition and completing daily checks will help ensure that your vehicle is safe to use. It is essential that you maintain your quad in compliance with its operator's manual. Carry out the POWDERBS check before operating your quad. Petrol or diesel fuel, oil, water and cooling system, damage, electrics, rubber tyres, brakes and suspension. Check your fuel level, and in the absence of a gauge, be careful of fumes from the tank. Check the fuel switch is on the on position before starting the quad. Check the engine and brake oil levels. Check the water and coolant levels. If the level is too low, it may indicate a leak or an overheating problem. Check the vehicle for physical damage. This involves carrying out a visual inspection of the machine. Having it clean makes this an easier job. Check the electrical controls in sequence by pressing each button on the dash. Also check the emergency stop button at the end of each process. Visually check the tyre grip, as good grip is essential for safe operation. Quad tyres are the large balloon type and operate on very low air pressure, 3.5 to 6 psi, to allow the vehicle to travel easily on many types of surfaces. Check your user manual for the correct tyre pressure for your quad. Check the brakes by applying them carefully during operation. Avoid sudden braking. Check the suspension by manually bouncing the quad suspension. Generally, it should be quite stiff. Let's move on to the basics of riding a quad, beginning with mounting, starting up, switching off, and dismounting the quad. When mounting your quad, approach the machine from the side of choice, making a visual check of good tyre inflation. Grasp the handlebars firmly and put one foot on the footrest on the side you are mounting. Stand up and swing your other leg over the saddle and place your foot on the opposite footrest. Seat yourself approximately in the centre of the saddle and relax your arms, shoulders and elbows. Before starting the engine, check that the parking brake is on and that the transmission is in neutral. Then turn on the fuel valve. To start the engine, turn the ignition switch to the on position and check that the engine stop switches are either in the run position or on position. If the engine is cold, engage the choke, then start the engine. To stop the engine, first check that the parking brake is engaged. Next, put the engine stop switch in the off position. Check that the transmission is in neutral and switch the ignition off. To dismount, grasp the handlebars firmly, stand up on the footrests and swing your leg over the saddle while standing on the footrest on one side. Then put your feet on the ground, clear of the quad. Always remove the key and keep it in a safe place away from children. Practice riding forward and stopping before trying to acquire other skills. Practice in an open flat area. Gently accelerate, placing your thumb completely over the throttle lever in first gear. Release the throttle, squeeze the handbrakes and lightly press on the foot brake and bring the quad to a smooth stop. Now on the same flat area, try changing to second gear and practice the same task, this time shifting back to first gear as you decelerate. The next step is to try turning the quad when riding. It is important to note that weight transfer is crucial when turning a quad safely. This turning exercise should be carried out in an open flat area. To turn left, maneuver the handlebars to the left and lean your body weight to the left, which helps prevent the quad from overturning to the right. To turn right, maneuver the handlebars to the right and lean your body weight to the right. Once you have mastered low speed turning, you can gently increase your speeds and try turns in second gear. Remember to remain seated. The important thing to remember are to keep your feet on the footrests at all times, slow down before the turn the handlebars in the direction of the turn your head and look beyond the turn to where you want to go. Lean into the turn and keep your weight on the inner footrest as you enter the turn and gently increase the throttle as you exit the turn. Once you have mastered riding the quad on the flat, then you can start practicing riding up, down and across gentle slopes. You should move your body weight according to the action. When going up, lean forward. When descending, lean backwards. When travelling across, lean up the slope. It should be noted that the following advice is no substitute for formal training. On sit-astride quads, the correct rider position is vital to operate them correctly. The position of the rider on the machine needs to be changed depending on the terrain and motion. Riders must have the ability to move and balance the momentum of the quad with their body weight. This weight transfer cannot be done when carrying passengers, and therefore passengers must never be carried. Riders should carefully plan all routes and all uses of the quad. Most quads have no differential. They have a solid rear axle and they handle differently to other machines when cornering. This means that when you turn, the quad bike will try to keep going straight. When cornering on a quad with no differential, or with the differential lock engaged, where your body weight needs to be positioned depends on how sharp the corner is and how fast you're going. The correct body position allows you to transfer your weight to the inside of the turn through the footrest while maintaining balance with the torso. This lets the inside wheel skid slightly, allowing the quad to make the turn properly. In this example, we can see the difference between a tractor with the rear differential operating and a tractor with the differential lock engaged. When riding across a slope, keep your weight on the uphill side of the quad. When going downhill, slide your weight backwards, select a low gear and use the engine braking, reducing the need to use the brakes. When going uphill, it is important to review the route before starting the climb. Move your weight forwards and maintain a steady speed. It is important that you shift your body weight forwards as much as possible. By standing in a stoop position, the rider will have increased ability to shift weight quickly and maintain stability on the quad. This style of riding, known as active riding, can prove to be more effective when travelling on rough ground and at faster speeds. Avoid sudden increases in speed, as this is a common cause of rearward overturning accidents, even from a standing start on flat ground where there is good grip. It is important that you never put your foot on the ground to stabilise the quad. but instead shift your weight across the quad away from the imbalance. Watercourses should only be crossed in the quad after an adequate risk assessment deems it safe to do so. Hazards such as the strength of the current, hidden obstacles and the depth of the water all cause significant risk. Before crossing any stream or watercourse, always carry out a quick risk assessment. Firstly, check the depth of the water, including the soft bed, as a quad can't travel if the water level, including the depth of the soft riverbed, is above 1 foot high. Then check the speed of the water current, as a quad is very buoyant and could easily be swept away by a strong current. Next, check for hidden obstacles, such as a large stone, as these may cause the quad to overturn. When planning a route, the easiest and safest route must always be selected. Whenever possible, you should travel straight up a hill and not across the face of a hill. And when descending a hill, you should try go straight down the hill and not at an angle across the face of the hill. Some hills, of course, would be too steep for quad operation, regardless of the rider's experience or skill level, and it is essential that common sense prevails in these situations. Site-specific risk assessments should be carried out, and all hazards, such as wire fencing, should always be identified. Fence wires are often not that visible to quad riders. A number of people have been seriously and fatally injured after colliding with fence wires. Warning signs should be placed on electrical fences in areas near to where quads are used to help increase their visibility. Ensure that all operators know the manufacturer's operating towing capacity and drawbar limit. Always operate within these requirements. Remember that your ability to control a quad by your body movement will be considerably reduced when carrying a load or towing a trailer. When selecting a trailer, look for overrun brakes, swivel hitch drawbar, beadlock rims on wheels, a low centre of gravity and a wide wheel track, a long drawbar and attachment points for securing a load. Check the weight ratio between your quad and its trail load. As a general rule, on level ground the brake trail equipment can be a maximum of 4 times the unladen weight of the quad. For on-brake trailed equipment, the maximum should be twice the unladen weight. These loads should be reduced when working on slopes, uneven ground or poor surface conditions. Follow the manufacturer's advice for your particular machine. Weight transfer is also important. Stability and resistance to jackknifing is improved if some of the load is transferred onto the quad's drawbar. Approximately 10% of the gross weight of the loaded trailer is recommended, but this should not exceed the manufacturer's drawbar loading limit. Remember that weight transfer can change dramatically when you start going up a hill, downhill, or when liquid loads are involved. So always secure loads to prevent movement when travelling. When selecting mounted equipment, make sure that it's within the manufacturer's approved weight limit, with a low centre of gravity and controls which are easy to operate but do not create a hazard. Where equipment is added to one end of the machine, add a ballast to the other end to maintain stability. Loads carried on racks must be well secured, for example with ratchet straps, and be evenly balanced between the front and rear, except where they are deliberately altered to aid stability when going up or down a slope. Only tow a load from the hitch point. Loads towed from other points, such as the rear rack, have caused sudden rear overturning, even on slight slopes or with slight acceleration. Ropes or chains should not be used to drag a load, as they can get caught on a wheel. This may lead to entanglement with the brake cable, causing unexpected braking. You are more likely to be exposed to spray drift on a quad than a tractor with a cab, so use a tractor whenever possible. Where a quad is used, then attention to the safety features is especially important when buying a sprayer and when spraying, particularly with mounted sprayers, where the boom is close to you and contamination is more likely. Consider techniques and equipment which contain spray within the target area and reduce drift potential, such as a drift hood or canopy or low drift nozzles. When buying a sprayer, look for low centre of gravity and internal baffles to reduce liquid surge, which will improve stability when turning on slopes. Consider the distance of the boom from your seat, as the boom in front of the quad or close behind your seat could increase the risk of exposure to pesticides. Spray operators must be trained and, where appropriate, hold a certificate for the type of equipment used. Wear the personal protective equipment for the sprayer and pesticide in use. Always select the pesticide of least risk. Work at right angles to the wind and turn into the wind to reduce contamination to yourself and the machine, and only spray in ideal wind conditions. Do not hold a spraying lance when riding your quad. After spraying, clean the contamination from your quad, particularly your controls and the seat. You should be aware of the environmental regulations, as bulk volumes of water are used for this purpose. Never carry a child as a passenger. It is illegal and it will reduce your ability to control the quad. Check the manufacturer's minimum age recommendations for your quad. The ratio of a child's weight to that of the quad is significant, as weight transfer is key to safe handling. All large quads require the operator to be over 16 years of age. In addition, the Code of Practice on Preventing Accidents to Children and Young Persons indicates that children under the age of 14 should not be allowed to drive or operate a self-propelled vehicle, including quads, on a farm. Children over 14 should only be allowed to operate a quad on a farm where conditions outlined in the Code of Practice are met.
As you go through the cones, I want you to use weight transfer, go either side, okay?
These conditions include adequate training and supervision. Only quads designed for road use should be used on the road. It is essential that the quad is in roadworthy condition and that it's fitted with lights, indicators and mirrors. The quad must be insured and taxed for road use. The rider must hold a required driving licence. The quad bike is a very useful aid on the farm, but potentially very dangerous if not operated safely. The key safety issues with a quad are training, experience, wearing the appropriate protective clothing, maintenance, and a good knowledge of the terrain.